Stop watching this video if you do not want to watch a scary story involving topics of death and paranormal activity.
So the windshield wiper blade literally just came off.
I filmed this video on Sunday, March 23rd, 2025, just last Sunday. I was on my way home from Grand Ledge, Michigan to just south of Hastings, and I did not plan to stop and go for a run on the way. I also did not plan on getting caught in a freak late spring snowstorm or on the driver's side windshield wiper breaking off on my 1990 Toyota Corolla all-track station wagon, which I recently purchased. The windshield wiper was actually replaced at the very first oil change that I took the car to. Eventually, I just felt like I needed to stop anywhere to take a break from the snow, which was falling directly towards the windshield and making it very difficult for me to see the lines on the road. It was also becoming dizzying and disorienting. I saw flashing lights ahead and decided to pull over at the gas station that was just on the corner of 66 and 52.
So there's the rest of the pink sink. I'm stopping here literally just to take
A little brain break.
because it's very tense. I'm about halfway. Probably only have 20-25 minutes left in the drive if I was driving at the speed limit, which I'm not. Going below. Yeah, I just need a break. Holy cow. Station, which I kind of had to make. I had to turn north on M66 instead of south, and then because I couldn't really hardly see anything, I just went to the convenient exit and turned right, assuming that I was turning right onto 66 south. I was actually turning right onto 50 west still, and I just realized that when I saw a curve that I didn't recognize, and then the sign on the curve pointed to the right and said 50 west, and I was like, I shouldn't be on 50 west at all, or where I could even turn onto it. So now I'm taking the most direct possible route from where I actually was to where I can basically regain some larger roads, which is in Hastings. So this should have just turned to the south, and then the next time it gets to a paved road, I'll turn right. I believe I'll check that on the map again before I do it. Then that should take me over to Hastings Road, I guess, which leads down into Hastings. So that's what I'll do. I didn't plan on making this an even longer drive, but thankfully the snow has let up. Visibility is okay. I don't feel endangered, only slightly inconvenienced, which is a much better thing to feel. Maybe I'll just stop and go for a run on this really creepy dirt road here. If I see a good spot to do that. Because I have not gone for a run today at all. I don't think I did really yesterday either. This seems like the perfect place to go on a very creepy run, and I have not done a run yet today, so let's do it. This will be a quick one because it's cold out and I'm not really dressed for the cold. I suppose I do have gloves. since it's very dark and very creepy, I think I'll just tell the scariest true story that I know for this run. It's kind of a place where you kind of expect there to be some paranormal activity. Not really, I'm not really expecting that, but sometimes when you go into something with a certain expectation, it has a way of coming true, doesn't it? If you do not want to hear a creepy story, I would recommend that you turn off this video, because this is a pretty disturbing one. But it's not graphic. I was in high school, and one of my friends wanted to do a project. I don't remember for what class or why exactly. It was for a class. He wanted to do a project about paranormal activity at a graveyard. We had a really big graveyard. I won't tell you the location, but very, very big, expansive graveyard. And we came out actually right about this time of year, and it was, this is weird. This is actually really weird, because it was right about this time of year. I remember it being very early spring. And it was strange because we had an unseasonably late snow, just like we were having tonight. And we drove out to the graveyard in his van. Well, this is getting even weirder. Oh, we drove out to the graveyard in his van, but the van got a flat tire as soon as we got there. I don't remember how we were still able to leave and get a different vehicle, because that doesn't really make a lot of sense as a solution to a flat tire. So maybe it was a slow leak and we caught it and figured it would be flat. By the time we got done with the project, I don't really remember, but I do remember we came back with my car, which was my Toyota Corolla all-track station wagon, like that car that I was just driving, which I very recently purchased, having liked that car so much. And obviously I got rid of the original one a long time ago, but we came back with my car. It must have been illegal because I think we had 6 people. I'm sure we had 6 people. We went off in 3 pairs. And I was with one of my classmates, I won't say his name. We were walking along. And this graveyard is huge, like I already mentioned. It's gonna take me a while to tell this story, but I don't really want to walk past all these houses in case they have dogs or something. People out in the country tend to have dogs, and sometimes it is related to. Anyways, I'll head back, and I guess I'll just keep telling the story driving if I need to. No evidence of dogs. Okay. Anyways, graveyard's huge. It's a very simple layout. It's just a big, huge square. Basically, it's probably a few acres, but just a big, huge square. You could see all the way to the back of it, basically from the front. It was a fairly well lit night because it had snowed. There was snow on the ground.
There's a little bit of light in the sky, so we could see, even though it was nighttime. Oh, and kind of what we did was the person doing the project set up some microphones when we first got there, and then he, I think, had a video camera. The rest of us were just kind of walking around. We didn't have anything. This was before everyone carried a cell phone, so we were just walking, and then we noticed that we were walking in footprints. And we noticed that very suddenly, but the footprints had not appeared from the right or from the left. We hadn't come upon them. We hadn't seen them appear ahead of us. Just all of a sudden we were walking in footprints. They weren't our own footprints because we knew where we had started from. We knew where we were headed. We were walking in a straight line, quite positive of that. And we just, we're in this kind of strange, Twilight Zone type of mindset. So, strange seemed normal. So we just kind of started talking about how weird this was. If we hadn't been expecting, if we hadn't been in at least a little bit of a mindset where we were expecting creepy things to happen, maybe. I wasn't really, but when it did start to happen, it just didn't seem like anything worth getting really worked up over. It was just, we just started talking about it, like, yeah, this is weird. It's really weird, actually. And we confirmed with each other that neither one of us had seen footprints that we were walking towards. We just both suddenly noticed that we were walking in them. And then I looked closer, and I noticed that these footprints that I was walking in were exactly the same size as my feet. And the other person noticed that after I said something, he looked, and the ones he was walking in were exactly the same size as his feet, and the spacing was perfect, so that without any intentionality, without trying to match the stride, we were very naturally walking exactly in the prints. And so we said the obvious, this is probably leading us to our death because we are in a graveyard and we're experiencing paranormal activity, and quite obviously any paranormal activity that you experience in the graveyard probably leads you to your death. So naturally we proceeded. Because this was all very theoretical to us. This was all very hypothetical. We felt I felt very distant from the scene as it unfolded. I was just experiencing it, just kind of saying and thinking the cliche things to say and think in this very strange situation. And at this point we, had basically both spoken and unspoken between us. We knew that we were going to follow these prints to wherever they led. And so they lead to the exact back of the, this is actually giving me goosebumps to retell the story in this relatively creepy setting. On a road that I never planned to drive down, only here because I got lost on the way back from a job. So anyways, they led exactly to, that was loud noise. They led exactly to where we were planning to go, which was the opposite end of the graveyard, right up against the fence line or whatever was there. I don't really remember. Then we turned to the left where the footprints also turned, which felt natural. I think it was probably where we would have turned anyway, because that went to the back corner, the furthest possible point away from where we started, which is kind of a natural place to aim for. And they led to that back corner and continued in them. And then they turned to the left again, heading back along the outer edge of the graveyard, but back towards where we were, except that we were parked more centrally rather than along that edge. So naturally we continued to follow them. And about halfway along that edge of the graveyard, they turned in. We continued to follow them. They didn't go in very far because I think just a few steps into the graveyard there was a gravestone, and the footprints ended at the foot of that gravestone, which, when you're not in a mindset for experiencing creepy things, that would probably really freak anybody out. But we're already experiencing something very strange, and we kind of got to it by steps, no pun intended. So at this point, it's just a given that, well, this is what happened. They went right up to this gravestone and they just stopped. There's nobody there. The footprints do not continue. They don't backtrack. There's no evidence of somebody walking backwards in those footprints, and it would have been a very long walk for them to do so. They just went right up to that gravestone and they stopped. And I looked at the gravestone. The strange thing is that this person and I share a birth date, and I won't tell you what our birth date is, but the birth date on the gravestone is the same date, except 100 years prior. And the death date at that time was quite a ways out. If you were to add 100 years to it, far enough out that it wasn't that scary at the time. But it was only a few days in the future. A few days, but quite a few years. But years fly by. The date was March 27th, 1925. So we gathered ourselves together. We walked back to join the others, and they had some strange experiences too. One group had experienced similar to ours, except their footprints led into a crypt and disappeared there. This is where I left my car. This is the open spot. Really, I can't see it. Anyways, there's led to a crypt. Disappeared. We found some footprints that they showed us, and they were simply inhumanly long strides. One of the guys with us and me, so there was two of us who were very athletic, very good at long jump. We tried to jump the distance between each stride. We had to get a running start, and then we could clear the distance one time with a long jump, two-legged long jump. Why is that car not here? Oh, this is a different opening. I thought it was right here. Okay. No one's been down here. Okay. So anyways, yeah, we could clear the distance, but it was continuous footprints, like clear across the whole graveyard at that distance from each other, each individual step that distance, and we had to take a running leap just to get in both feet to clear it one time, one stride. So that was very strange. And what was the last thing? Oh, the last thing was we got to the car and we listened back to the recording on the tape, and we heard screaming. But that one is explained because one of the participants saw deer in the distance, and it freaked him out, and he started running down the hill screaming, and then he fell. So that one at least was explained. That's the only one